and thread on this short hair.
I just washed my hair, so the white thing you see is actually aloe vera. I try to use aloe vera as much as I can on every wash day. It just makes the whole combing process a lot more easier. It's much easier to detangle. So I'm beginning by parting my hair into two from the middle. Tie oil one part so I can make the next section a little more easier without having any more hair from the other side getting into the other. This messy corner is just to keep the lines separate from each other, to make sure the parts do not get into each other's parts. So I also make the same line again going downwards from the other side. Now I have 4 parts in total and 3 corners just to put away the hair as I work on this first part. So I just went back to just make a much better part and then put that away. Now made my sections. The first section was this one. So I've done one part and now I'm just going to go through the rest of it together. I'm hungry. So you always want to make sure that your hair is well oiled before you begin plaiting. So make sure to just use some oil or any hair product of your choice just to prevent the yarn from soaking up oil moisture. So I'm just going to get a little bit of that, like so. This is long enough. Then I just go on and tie that part. And now we're all set and ready to begin. Now I'm going to make my first part. Thereafter, I'm going to carry my thread and put it on my fingertips just to hold it at the base and then begin to wrap.
Messages I saved that I never sent, 'cause I don't know you, but I used to back then. I remember that I was drunk out my mind when we kissed for the first time. In the back of your car we passed out counting stars.
So after wrapping for a while, I like to check to make sure that my lock has gone far enough to go past the line behind. If not, I continue wrapping until it does and just goes halfway into the hair at the back. So right here is good enough. If you have longer hair, try not to go too far back. I have short hair, so I can never overdo it, I think. I go on and make the next part. Now this is what you want to have. You want to make sure that your first lock gets in between your second section of hair, and you want to make sure that the wrap part ends up in the middle. Then you hold everything together like this. Get your yarn and begin to wrap. But if your yarn from the first wrap has finished, just get some more and add it to the base right at your fingertips, and then now begin to wrap.
I remember that I was drunk out my mind when we kissed for the first time. In the back of your car we passed out counting stars. Promised all these years we'd pack our things and disappear. I never thought I would see you here after all this time.
So after a while, just keep checking to make sure you have gone far enough to cross the line behind. And if you have, make your second part. Put that hair in the middle of the next part, hold it together. Do not forget the yarn. And now just grab your yarn and keep wrapping. But if your yarn is too short again, just make sure to grab a little more, put it at the base, hold it with your fingertips and keep wrapping. Now, question I would have for myself is, why don't you just use longer yarn so you don't have to add more yarn every time you're done with one part? And the answer to that is because it's tedious. It's just harder to wrap around. So shorter ones worked better for me.
And if I lost my mind, would you come around? I will keep you safe and sound after all this time. Let me go, there's no doubt. Gotta get out of this small town. You took my heart from me, now you're everywhere I see. Set me free, let me fly. Let me find new kinds of highs. We're just wasting here, waiting for another year. We both know the score. We've been here once before. So many words unspoken. You took my heart, it's already broken.
I like to leave the little shorter hair at the back alone because I don't want to stress my head like that. And also another thing I try to do is wrap around twice and then move my head in all directions to make sure I can still move my head. I'm not a robot at the end of this whole process, okay? I begin to wrap after that. Only after I've made sure that I can actually move my neck.
On a new adventure. On a new adventure. On a new adventure.
At the beginning of each line, I just like to check to make sure that my braid is not too tight. So I just move it around like that just to make sure that it's not too tight, because you don't want to lose whatever edges you have left, which is not so much for me, but that's not the point. Anyway, I do that for the beginning and also especially for the back as well, the last part at the back, just to make sure that you can actually move your head. So for the front, to keep those edges in, for the back, to make sure you can move your head, and also to keep your hair at the back end, because let's be honest, you can still lose hair anywhere. So that doesn't mean that everything in between should be as tight as possible. You get yourself a headache and you don't want that. Make sure they are neat enough but not too loose and also not too tight.
Away out of this small town. Got a place at school you didn't hang around.
When you feel like you've wrapped enough, just go ahead and check to make sure that it actually goes past the line behind. Once that's done, you're ready to now part your next part.
I remember that I was drunk out my mind when we kissed for the first time. In the back of your car we passed out counting stars. Promised all these years we'd pack our things and disappear. I never thought I would see you here after all this time.
The length of your hair will detect how many parts going backwards you can make. For me, it's 4 because my hair is short. For people with longer hair, they can get away with 1 or even 2. That is fine. But if I'm going to use only my natural hair, I have to go about 5 or 4 of those going backwards. But I'm not saying that it's not possible for people with short hair like mine to do 2 rows going backwards. It just means that you have to use some sort of extension. And by extension, I mean the very same yarn. You have to use the very same yarn to extend your lock a little more further to the back. If you want to see how to do that, there's another video I just posted. You can see how I did that and just made them longer. I will put that up on the screen at the end of this video so you can go and watch that one next. Again, when I reach the end, I wrap around twice or once just to make sure I can move my head, and then continue wrapping after I've confirmed that I can actually move my head. I grab those 2 parts and then wrap some yarn around those 2 parts to make it into a bigger, thicker lock.
Took my heart from me. Now you're everywhere I see. Set me free. Let me fly.
Then I go on and secure the ends before moving on to the next part. Once I'm done with both parts, I just go on and tie a knot.
We both know the score. We've been here once.
Then I begin to loop the right side around the closest lock to it. I loop around for 3 or 4 times just to make sure it's secure enough, then I just tie it to secure it even more. Repeat the same thing again on the left side and tie, secure, make sure it's all good. Then you are done. This is so quick, so easy. I love this hairstyle. We used to wear this hairstyle a lot when I was in high school. Everybody claimed it grows hair. Fast forward later, the internet thinks so too, so that's beautiful.